You're sworn in, so go ahead.
So as far as like the self, can you see the picture in there that I submitted? There was a text message and he was holding a gun and he sent me a picture. Can you see that in there?
All right, so let's see.
Because
I've got two batches of exhibits. One has 101 pages, one has 11 pages. Do you know which batch it's in?
probably the 101 pages. Sorry, there was a lot.
It's okay. Let's see. So there's a picture of him holding a gun, say.
Yes,
Okay.
it's in there. I like screenshotted it from my phone. So it should just be like a text message type deal.
Do you recall the date of the text?
Oh, it was months ago.
All right, was it all right, I see there's a text that says, I believe it's from Mr. Klingel. I'm probably better dead than sorry we met goodbye.
Yes.
Is it that one?
Yeah.
Okay. And that text you say has the picture of the gun?
Yes.
I see a very grainy picture.
I have the picture on my phone if you can look at that. If that's okay. Because I had to print all these off because it wasn't letting me like email everything over. So it's not very like clear.
All right, well, let's hold off on whether that's something we need to look at. So you're saying the text where the text says probably better dead, sorry we met goodbye, that text accompanied a picture of him holding a gun?
Yes.
Okay.
And can I add something?
Mm-hmm.
So there's like I wasn't able to really submit anything over this like encounter. But I was at his house one night and he threatened to kill himself multiple times. And that was the night that he was telling me that I didn't want to see him get mad, like all this stuff. He made me pack up all my stuff and get in his car. And then I got in the car and then he looked at me and said, I can't drive, I've been drinking. So then he made me get all my stuff out of the car and I said I was going to get an Uber. So then he took my phone and then I went and slept in one of his kids' room. And then he came in there and he wouldn't stop. Like it was just like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself. Like, please talk to me, like all this stuff. And I just kept asking him, like, please get out, please get out, please get out. And this went on for hours, it felt like.
When was this about?
This was a few months ago. Like 4 months ago, maybe. And I had texted my mom that night that I was scared.
Okay. All right. And one reason why it's tough for me to follow along with the date is the way cell phone screenshots work is they give you the time, but they usually don't say what date it's on. So that's
sorry.
That's okay.
Really
No, that's all right. All right. But you're saying that the some of the threats to self-harm and the statements like you don't want to see me get mad, those were in person.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
Not all of it was over text.
All right. And then the original petition, you'd stated that he makes me feel unsafe on multiple occasions. Is that in reference to this, that incident? And then are there any others you'd like to talk
just about? Like, I mean, all the messages, like everything. It doesn't stop. It feels like it never ends. Oh, he told me that when he lived in California, he killed somebody. I don't know.
All right. And then the Zelle messages, can you tell me a little bit about those?
So I had blocked him because I just finally got to my breaking point and I thought to myself, like, I can't keep doing this.
Do you remember when you blocked him?
Can I look at my phone real quick? Is that okay?
Yeah, if you're just trying to refresh.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So I blocked him 3/26/2026. That was the day I had texted him and I texted him to leave me alone and to go away. And then I blocked him.
I did see I don't have it in front of me, but I did take a note that on March 26th, there's a text from you to Mr. Klingel asking him to leave you alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the Zelle messages started happening, which that's always been a thing because I've blocked him multiple times. And then he'll Zelle me and it's, just like 4 or 5 Zelles a day. And it's so Zelle is like sending money. And I had him blocked on email because he would make new emails and he would email me off those. He would email me off his son's email. So I had to block all those emails. And then he would Zelle me. I didn't know how to block him through Zelle because it's like linked through my bank account. So I'm not really too sure how you do that. And he would just like, he'd send me money with like these notes attached. It would be like, I'll give you $5,000 if you hang out with me. Like just tons of stuff. Like you can see it in there and it wouldn't stop. And that was after I blocked him. It just kept going and going and going.
Yeah, I see because again, a lot of the messages are kind of date stamped for a time, but not a date. I think I see one that's from March 30th. But generally speaking, these were after March
It was
26th?
and it just kept going. Yeah, it was like, I can't remember if he emailed me on that day. It might have been the next day it started, but it was just like email after email or Zelle because he couldn't email me.
Okay. Has there been any other contact since March 26th besides Zelle, or is that?
If you count him contacting my father.
Right, I see. Right. Okay, so and I do see that in the file here too. So
and my mom actually also contacted him the day that I came here to file. My mom contacted him and let him know you might want to, leave my daughter alone. She's going to get a restraining order. Just giving you a heads up. And then it was that Friday that I filed, and then Monday I had court, and then he Apple paid me after I had my court hearing, after the protection order was set in place. He had Apple paid me $5.
But he hadn't been served, so he wasn't like officially on notice.
Right. Okay. All right. Understood. Okay. Thank you. And I imagine Mr. Klingel is going to go into his exhibits, and so it would be helpful for me to get an understanding of where you're coming from before I turn it over to him. So Mr. Klingel's exhibits are text messages between the two of you. I think I was able to look at dates essentially November through last couple months.
Yeah.
Where a lot of communication between the two of you oscillates between friendly and angry. It seems like you had a pretty dynamic relationship, and it's a lot of text about reflecting that over the last several months. And so, Mr. Klingel will speak more to those. I think, again, some of the date stamps are tough. I see one March, I'm looking at his exhibits, one recent is March 19th. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Mr. Klingel, how this started, and what led to you blocking him?
Okay, so I met him like last year, and I met him through Instagram. We hung out one night. We went to the bar. When I first met him, he lied to me and told me that he was 34. He also told me that he didn't have kids. Come to find out a month later, he has 2 kids. He's not 34, he's 40. And it was just, the whole relationship was founded on lies. And then it just, as time went on, there was something that had happened one night. We went to the casino and I had gone out to sit in the parking lot, and then he came out and was accusing me of trying to sleep with some random man in the parking lot. And then in that moment, I knew like that this is not what I wanted for myself. And I told him that. And then it was just like love bombing. It was like gifts and money and this and that. And he was taking me to fancy dinners, and then he was doing this and he was doing that. And so I just feel like I was very enamored by all of these things that were happening because I'd never really experienced anything like that. And so it was just, it was like, it was love bombing. Like I didn't want to be with him and he knew that. And then it was like, I would block him and then he would, email me or he would send me money and it would be like, I'll take you here, I'll do this for you, I'll buy you this, I'll buy you that. And it's like he was constantly ordering me stuff. He bought me a car, like all this kind of stuff. So it was hard for me at that point in time to get away. Um, he helped me like with my bills and stuff and just stuff like that. And so that's pretty much what it was. I mean, we only dated for like a month and a half. And then I realized that he had lied to me about a ton of stuff. I mean, he bought me a dog and then I had to move out of my apartment. It's just like, I mean, there was a lot of resentment from me there. And then he would like do stuff for me. So then I'd be like, oh, okay, it's fine. And then something would happen and I would be like, no, this is not what I want for myself. So yeah, there was a lot of hostility because I was very unhappy and because it was very manipulative.
And so you brought up the money. I think a good chunk of the exhibits from Mr. Klingel involve money, it sounds like. So
Yeah.
So is it fair to characterize it as while you were dating, was he sort of sending you money for things that you
Yeah,
needed or asked
he
for?
sent me money all the time.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And like he offered most of the time.
And then what, can you speak a little bit about leading up to March 26th and what caused the, I mean, you've already sort of outlined, love bombing. You've mentioned, a few incidences as well that, you say made you feel scared. Is there anything specifically around March 26th that resulted in the blocking?
It was just, I mean, he was like accusing me of like sleeping with some guy, like, and we weren't even dating. And I was just over it. That's not what I wanted for myself. I didn't feel safe. I mean, there was tons of stuff that had happened throughout the relationship, whatever you want to call it. And I didn't want that for myself. I mean, I was at the bar one night and he picked me up and then he like ran inside because I was hanging out with my two friends and he wanted to see who was in there. And he like went in there and was talking to them and they were just kind of like, what are you doing? It was just, there was like so much stuff that had happened. It's really hard, like, for me to even reflect on all of it.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Brennan. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Klingel and we'll swear him in. And so, Mr. Klingel, you'll have this your opportunity to respond. I do want to, try and focus the response to, we're not here to sort of, litigate necessarily the nature of your relationship together, and whether there was lies and deceit or anything like that. You'll have your chance to sort of characterize it to the extent it's relevant to today's hearing. And you asked Ms. Brennan about your relationship, and you'll have a chance to respond there. But really, for purposes of today's hearing, what I'm concerned with and what I'd like specific information around from you is kind of similar to what I asked her about, which is, number one, there's allegations of you threatening self-harm, sending pictures, holding a gun, that there is, so information about that specifically, I'd like to know more about from your perspective. Number two, with these Zelle messages, what was going on there as far as contact to Miss Brennan, after that March 26th kind of notice to stop. And then, I think it is fair if you want to talk about your relationship. I know your exhibits are, again, I think it's primarily text messages between the two of you during your relationship. It's hard for me to get a sense of the timeline. But if you'd like to provide a little context about, why these are the messages you felt were necessary for today's hearing as well, you can talk about those. But the things I'm really concerned about are the threats for self-harm, holding the gun, and comments like "don't want to see me get mad," And then the communication over Zelle more recently, I think is top of mind for me. So with that in mind, sir, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, Your Honor, I didn't see the evidence, you said something about 101 pages, that I didn't see that online. So that's what I was trying to clarify so I could skim over real quick to see what was talked about.
Well, it's in the court file, so it's accessible the same way your exhibits are accessible. Looks like they were uploaded, at least uploaded on our end last Wednesday.
Okay, because when I'm on the website, the only thing I see from her is exhibits where there's 11 screenshots.
Okay.
I'll take a look on that.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, if she opened,
I'm gonna look at what's in the batch of 11 too. We've got, and we're checking to see what we can see through the website.
okay.
It is,
He goes all the way to the very end, page 10, and clicks on pet exhibits.
okay. Yeah, all right. So we just accessed the court file from the website the way you would have done it. And look, it looks like they all are all there. PET exhibits. There's, yeah, I'm looking at it now. There's one with the 11 and one with the 101.
Okay, well, do you know what page it's on, or?
It's right underneath. There's a list of folders. You go into it's PET exhibits, and then there's 2 line items, and they're each the different batches of exhibits. One has 11 pages and one has 101 pages.
Okay, so it's all in the same one then.
Mhm. Yeah, that's right. And so what it is primarily is, again, the dates I can't suss out exactly, but according to Miss Brennan, and I can see at least one from March 30th, is these are Zelle payments from you to her. I guess I can see actually, yeah. They're throughout, looks like Zelle payments throughout March, some before and some after March 26th.
Okay.
And then there's messages as well. So there's one, so I'm looking at one March 30th, payment of $1, and the message is $50 to unblock. And so there's things of that nature. Another one,
Yeah,
unblock to send you 100.
Yeah. Okay, well, I wish I could see these because I don't believe that was sent after March 25th. So I'm on all I see is 1 out of 11 on. So it says, what it says on mine is March 25th, 2, waste of time, March 25th, and then exhibits. I click on exhibits and there's only 11, there's 11 things.
Are you
I don't
looking at a
know.
link, ET exhibits?
How do I get to ET exhibits? Is that in a different?
Have to click on the 10th page.
10th page. Okay, so there should be
The 10th
where you
page?
can click on individual pages of exhibits. You go to page 10, which is the last page in the file.
And tells you the pet exhibits file.
So yeah, go to page 10,
Okay, all right.
and then there's a file titled PET exhibits.
All right, the last thing I'm seeing is 11, and it says, it's the message where the petitioner states, "Oh yeah, I've gone on dates, don't you worry." That's the last thing I see. That's all.
Well, so the exhibits, they're there to support and substantiate allegations. And obviously that's something that I can't tell you what's going on there. I mean, we're able to see it online.
Okay.
As far as the allegations though of it's kind of messaging her through Zelle by making looks like small payments, some as small as a penny, and then sending a message as part of that. That is the allegation here against you. The exhibits are intended to support and substantiate those allegations.
All right.
So to that, I mean, do you have, you're able to testify as far as that allegation?
Okay. Yeah. I was just trying to find it so I could prove that
Right.
those happened months ago, but I can't see it. But I guess where I could start from when she's talking about the gun, I don't see that either. But so this is why the car was relevant to the case, because I bought a Mercedes October 9th, which I submitted. I bought a Mercedes October 9th. Around the middle of November, she gets pregnant. And so on the 21st of November, the petitioner states, if you basically lists out a bunch of demands and says, if you meet all these demands, which included putting her on the title of my car, she will cancel the appointment. So the 21st, which I've submitted documents that I did it that day, not of genuine consent, but under duress. I did it that day, added her to the title, and then by the 25th, so 4 days later, the petitioner stated that they made a new appointment, a new, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, abortion appointment, but a new doctor's appointment, for the 25th. And then after that, which had I seen these files on here from Wednesday, I mean 2 days ago, I would have submitted evidence. But anyway, so the 25th, the petitioner mentions she gets a new appointment, and then I send a picture. I'm probably better off dead. I'm sorry. That's a comment under duress. It's not a comment of her hurting anyone. It's what the petitioner did. I was distressed. I put her on the title. She made a new appointment 4 days later. So I can't. So that's that. It's not that's what it was, and she's deliberately trying to deceive that it was anything other than that. And I couldn't submit evidence because I didn't see this. And so then we go to March. We'll go to March. So, well, even on February. So I submitted the evidence the best I could without timelines, without dates, without knowing what the petitioner was talking about on most things. So February rolls around, it's her birthday. She asked me to take her to dinner for her birthday. And then we roll around to March 3rd, I believe I submitted evidence. She reaches out to me. Hey, do you want to get drinks? So we went to the Brick. So we hung out March 3rd, March 5th, March 11th, March 12th, March 13th, March 17th, March 20th, she spends the night. March 23rd, she asked me to hang out and I say no. March 24th, she asked me to hang out and have sex. I say no. March 25th, she asked me to hang out, in which she states her mom is gone. And that's not including, I also sent evidence of the text messages that we had shared about 4,000 messages since January. So it's unreasonable for me to have known that my messages caused distress. We hung out on seven different occasions in March. And then she asked me to hang out on I think the total was about 14 times in March. She reached out to me to hang out. So March 25th, she asked me to hang out. Hey, my mom's gone. And she asked me for $2,000 to help her move into a new apartment, which it was kind of like a gray area. I didn't say no, I didn't say yes, but she knew that it was leaning towards no. So she, I guess, blocked me because I wasn't giving her the money, not done out of fear. So I wouldn't give her the money. And then, and before she blocks me, she asked me for a couch to order. She asked me, like I said, the money apartment. So a lot of the Zelle, I never send her money after March asking her to unblock me. It was I mentioned to her that Housemaids was on Stars. I mentioned to her miss you. Nothing on Zelle was hostile, threatening, and like I've said in the message or in the evidence I've sent, one day in November, I believe it's November 11th, she said, "Leave me alone," 21 times. And then she asked me to get a hotel room. And I submitted all this. So it's unreasonable for me to know what's true. It was just her radical figure of speech. And so all I really had was 11 documents. And just to touch on the 11 documents I saw, she mentions in one of them, it was how I make up stuff and how I lie. But anyways, I don't know what date that was, but I submitted evidence just when I was going through my stuff. I submitted evidence, and you guys have it listed under Manipulate 5. So she sent that stuff, and then on Manipulate 5, it's her asking, it's her demeaning me, and then Manipulate 5, she's asking me for June's dog food. She's asking me for stuff, and then by 8 o'clock at night, she was asking me to buy her flowers. And this was a pattern that I showed numerous times. She would bully me, demean me, criticize me, and then ask me for stuff. And then if I didn't meet her demands, she would threaten to block me. It wasn't done out of fear. It was a coercive control / like emotional abuse. So for me it was just how it was. I would just get emotionally abused, and I didn't know what was true. It was just constant. It was constant.
All
And
right.
and so sorry.
That's
There's
all
things.
right. So I think I understand what you're saying. I want to get some responses from Miss Brennan so Miss Brennan, back to you. So a couple of things that Mr. Klingel uploaded that do have some timestamps that I think are worth looking at is a text exchange from March 25th, in which it appears that this is dated. The title of the exhibit is March 25. And it looks like you ask him, "Are you awake?" Then there's no response. "I'm sorry, why am I being ignored?" A couple of times you're asking basically if he's ignoring you. I see this reference to "my mom's gone." So, and then it sounds like March 26th, then, there's the block. And so I'm just curious if you have, and it looks like the last one I see on March 25th might be from 8 o'clock in the evening. Picture of you, and I think maybe June is the dog. Do you have, so on that front, as far as the asking that he not contact you again on March 26th, sounds like what Ms. Klingel here is saying is, up until then, there was essentially, sounds like, requests from you to talk to him and didn't want to be ignored by him. Do you have any response to that?
Well, I think that it was just very manipulative. Like, that's where the money comes in. Like, that's why I asked him for stuff, because that's what it was. He would send me money. He would offer to buy me things. I would block him. And then he would send me money. You know, he'd be like, I'll buy you this, I'll buy you that, I'll do this for you, I'll do that for you. I mean, there was a point in February where I had not spoken to him. Like there was a big point in February where he had been blocked and he just kept zelling me and zelling me and zelling me and zelling me. And I left him blocked. And then I do not remember the reason that I unblocked him. It was probably, I mean, he would just email me these things and be like, oh, I'll give you this much money if you unblock me. I'll give you this much money if you unblock me. So it's like, it got to a point where I would just unblock him because he would send me money. And I was like, okay, so that's essentially what it was, is it was a very manipulative, toxic situation. I mean, he showed up to my house one night. He had ordered me like some clothes that I had wanted, and he'd had these for a few months, but he had been blocked, so I never got them. And that's where you can see in the emails, he emails from his son's account, hello, I'm in Olympia today, was gonna drop your dairy boy off, but you're not responding, something like that. He's emailing me from his son's email because he's blocked. And he eventually came over and he dropped it off. This was probably, I don't know, this was like maybe a month ago. And he shows up and I'm like, okay, like you can drop it off and, you know, I don't really want you to be here. And then he proceeds to tell me that he has a brain tumor. That's what he texted me, that he has a brain tumor, and he just wants to be around somebody and all this stuff. Like that's stuff that he would do to me. It was very, very manipulative.
And then, so I heard Mr. Klingel talk about back in November, there was, sounds like that may have been around when the two of you earlier in the relationship. And there was conversation about, I think, an abortion, and then a list of, essentially, he alleged there a list of demands, and then you wouldn't get one. And think, do you want to talk? Do you have a response to what he was saying there?
Well, I think that, so actually initially, if I wish I would have submitted it, but he offered to put, like he offered that. He said, if you know, don't get an abortion, I'll put the car in your name. That was his idea, not mine. And there's text messages where I tell him, no, that's like not a bargaining token. And then I was like, okay, like maybe I can do that. And then that's what we agreed to. And I think it was Thanksgiving. I was at my mom's house. He went nuts on me, went crazy, was accusing me of all this stuff, texting me, blowing my phone up. I was with my friend Addison, and he just went crazy. And then I think it was a day or two after that or something, I scheduled my appointment because I was like, I'm not doing this. And he had already put the car in my name. And to be honest, I don't really think that the car has much to do with me wanting a restraining order. I mean, there's like, yes, there's a lot of back and forth, but I mean, there's also a pattern.
Do the two of you have, at this point, do the two of you have any reason to communicate, or do you share
No.
any property? I understand there's this
No,
argument over the car, but
no, I want no communication with him. That's,
Well,
I mean,
Your Honor,
20
Your Honor, we're both
and
on that. Oh,
okay, I'll come back to you, Mr. Klinger.
Okay.
You'll have a chance to testify again, because
Okay.
I do have some follow-up questions.
So we are both on the car title. So I
Okay.
guess, I mean, but that's probably something that would have to take me to court for. Like different court. But other than that, no, I mean, I don't want contact with him because it's just like, he stated that he did not email me after the 26th. Yes, he did. You can see in the Zells, it's the 29th, the 30th, the 31st. My mom had to text him and let him know because he would not leave me alone. I did not want to unblock him and have to text him and tell him to leave me alone because I had already told him, leave me alone. There was just a lot that had led up to this. Yes, I did things that I'm not proud of, obviously. But it was very manipulative. Like, I'm young and naive at times, and I just was being showered with these gifts and these words and stuff that was untrue. And then finally I got to my breaking point, and this is, you know, I don't want contact with him. That was my whole point. I have had enough, essentially.
And so outside of the car situation, there's no reason for the two of you to interact or
No,
communicate.
not at all.
All right, so Mr. Klingel, back to you. So it sounds like both of you are on the title for this Mercedes. In your view, at this point, is there any reason for the two of you to communicate or have anything, friends or property in common, anything like that? Apart from,
Your Honor, no, but if I could add some things.
yeah, and I think so at this point, I think both sides have had an opportunity to
Okay.
kind of summarize their exhibits and make their points, because there has been a lot of back and forth and kind of given the volume of exhibits and things like that. I think it makes sense to give each side a couple of minutes to kind of offer some concluding remarks. So Mr. Klingel, we're with you, so we'll stay with you. And so if there's I'm not going to put a time limit on it necessarily, but we'll definitely keep it under 5 minutes. But so if you have some concluding remarks you'd like to make, go ahead. Now's your opportunity.
Okay. Well, Your Honor, so in the petition, the word threatened was mentioned 5 times. The message, well, I haven't seen all 100 messages, but the message evidence that I saw, there was no threats ever made. I didn't threaten to shoot myself. It was, I'm probably better dead. And yeah, I don't know. I had some prepared, but then there was so much testimony that she added that wasn't on the petition, and stuff that was on the petition wasn't talked about. But I just asked that it be dismissed. I wanted it to be dismissed with prejudice because there was no threats ever made. I submitted evidence of the mom calling me December 6th after the whole abortion thing. I made a police report December 6th stating to the officer that I just didn't feel safe. And she mentions manipulation, but I've submitted multiple pieces of evidence of the petitioner reaching out to me saying, I need money, I'll have sex with you. I need this, I'll send you pictures. And I've submitted all that. So it was, a lot of the conflict was mutually aggressive, in which I can't see what she submitted. But if you add the timelines, the majority of the time, the petitioner was the instigator. And yeah, that's what I had to say, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Klingel. Ms. Brennan, over to you. I think,
Can I add something that's really important?
well, so how about this? So I can hear from non-parties if their testimony would be what's called necessary and material. Necessary being I can't make a decision essentially without hearing from them, and material being that they're relevant to the allegations here. And so I think before swearing you in, if you maybe want to tell me what's the nature of what you'd like to add.
He just brought me up.
Mhm.
He just said that.
So you'd like to respond to what he was saying there?
Most definitely.
Okay. All right. Well, given that you've been kind of brought in here, and you are referenced in the exhibits here, I think that does make sense. So, ma'am, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead. And make sure though that you do keep it limited to responding to how he's brought you into this.
Okay, so I can only reference what he just spoke about, or can I just reference just real quick?
I would like to just keep it to what he's referencing. Again, we have to be really careful when we bring in non-parties to testify. So if you want to at least start with responding to what he's brought up.
Okay, so this whole relationship has been crazy lies. Speaking of which, that he just brought up that he called the police on December 6th on me, which would have been a Sunday, after him and I got into a big, huge argument, text and over the phone on December 5th about abortion, which is like not appropriate. He called me and told me that my daughter was pregnant and that she was going to get an abortion. And then he was blowing her up the weekend that she did it. So that Saturday, called her 10 or 15 times, texting her. I asked him to please leave her alone. Please, I'm begging you, stop. And I had done this several times in the course of this relationship, asked them, they needed to go their separate ways. This was toxic, it wasn't healthy. So back to what he was referencing, when we were last in court last Monday and he brought my name up and said that he was scared of me, I was like, what? Because I didn't understand. And when we left here, I called the police department twice. So he is lying because he did call the police on December 6th, and I spoke to Officer Parks, is who he spoke to. And I forgot it in my car, but I wrote everything down that they told me. And they said that he called about the car. Nothing was brought up about me. Nothing was brought up about safety. Nothing was brought up about anything. And they told him his name was Officer Parks, Sunday at like 1:30 or something. And they spoke to him over the phone and they told him it was a civil matter and there's no like pending case or anything. And I asked if I could get a copy of it. And the officer told me, well, you can, but there's really no point because it's exactly what I just told you. There was nothing about you, nothing about your daughter or harm or feeling unsafe or anything like that. It was about the car.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
So I mean, this is just establishing the base of everything out of his mouth is not necessarily the truth.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to hear from Miss Brennan next, Kennedy Brennan.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So I think, yeah, if you'd like to provide some last.
Could I just add that, because I feel like this is important. I was talking to my dad on Wednesday of last week, and I don't know if you can see it in there, but Andrew had reached out to my father after he had been served. So he had been served, I think it was December, or it was, I don't know what day it was. Was it April 7th? April 7th or April 8th? He had been served, and then he had reached out to my dad 30 minutes after he was served and sent my dad pictures of me. He sent my dad text messages between us. It was stating, your daughter's gonna pull some or pin some bullshit like this on me. She had an abortion, she did this, she did that, all this stuff in retaliation to being served. And I just think that that's important because I feel like that is harassment at that point. I mean, he's reaching out to my family. Why does my dad need to know that? My dad doesn't need to know that. What happened was between him and I, not between him and my dad. I'm 27 years old, I'm not. And I just feel like that was inappropriate. I mean, right after he was served.
Well, he knew it would upset her father because he's super religious, and it did. After he'd already reached out to me about it, after he'd already sent me pictures, the day that I said that Kennedy was going to the courthouse with her father, he then said, okay. And then he said to me, oh, you want to bring the authorities into this? Probably not a good idea. And then he sent me a picture of Kennedy sleeping, holding her phone. He's like, this is your daughter doing drugs, doing this. I mean, it's just, and I'm like, okay. And I don't respond because I don't want to engage. Threatening to tell her brother because her brother's super religious what she did. Which, I mean, I don't condone what she did, but also in the same breath, all that has gone through over the last year, she's probably told him 50 times over the phone, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to talk to you. He's busted into my house, into my bedroom when I was like in my pajamas.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna try to stay focused. It's okay. But I do have a follow-up question. The page that has the text from Mr. Klingel to, I think, your father.
Yeah.
It also shows there was 6 photos. Those are
Those
the
are the
photos you're
text
referencing?
messages, yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So since I'm going to be careful to not keep going back and forth. So I think the last word before I make a decision here, Mr. Klingel, I'll let you kind of respond because I know now we've got testimony from Ms. Brennan and her mother here. And so I'll give you a last chance here. I want to keep it though to the allegations here about reaching out to Ms. Brennan's parents and family. There is in the 101 batch, but a April 7th text apparently from you for her father with some pictures. And so I'll give you a chance to respond to that, and then I'll make my decision.
Okay. Yeah. And Your Honor, they keep mixing words and saying things that I'm saying that I didn't say. But I submitted evidence of the petitioner saying, at least I wasn't sexually or accused of sexually assaulting my own daughter, to where another time where she's the instigator. She says that, she says, I'm the dumbest mother effer. I mean, I submitted this. I'm the dumbest mother effer. She says all this, and then she goes on, and then the petitioner goes on to say, all my family knows what you have done. They so I don't have it in front of me, but I've submitted, all my family knows what you have done. And so I didn't think it was threatening or illegal to defend your reputation when someone themselves said they told your family everything that you've done. So I didn't think it was illegal to defend your reputation. Also, she stated in the messages, go ahead and text them. He'd probably kick your ass. And also, I didn't think it was illegal or threatening to send messages that are mine, that I'm involved in. They've already been published. So yeah, I don't know. I live in Lewis County. I used to see these people at the gym. The petitioner stated I could send them, and also, like I said, it was defending my reputation. And also regarding the police thing, what I told the police officer, they write it down, and his name's not even Parks, but they write it down. I can't control everything he wrote down. But I did call on December 6th and spoke with them and filed a report. And I'm still in contact. So
Okay. All right, thank you all. So here's what I'm focused on, as I said in sort of the overview of the unlawful harassment statute. I pointed this out because this usually does become kind of a point of contention in these hearings. I'm looking at element number 3. Was there communication for a legitimate purpose? And factors the court looks at are things like, was there contact that was initiated by the respondent after given clear notice that further communication is unwanted, but then communication persists. The crux of I think the crux of the argument on that front is that there's relative agreement. I think that on or around March 6th, Ms. Brennan did give Mr. Klingel notice that she didn't want any further communication from him, and that there was at least some communication after that through these Zelle messages. Mr. Klingel's response is that if you put that communication in context, where just the day before on March 25th in the evening, there was communication initiated by Ms. Brennan, the petitioner, and that this had also happened in the past, where Ms. Brennan asked that Mr. Klingel stop contacting him, and then communication continued. And so Mr. Klingel, we've provided some testimony that in that context, then March 26th wasn't necessarily clear notice, but it was reasonable for him to conclude that that wasn't really notice that she wanted him to stop, because in the past that notice had been given, and then she re-engaged. And that's not a uncommon thing for respondents in these orders to point out, that there's a history where clear communication of not wanting contact anymore, that the person who says they don't want to be contacted then re-engages. And my position on that is that is not a valid argument. That may be accurate as far as what has happened in the past. But when somebody says that they don't want any further communication, even if they've said it in the past and then they re-engage you later, when they say they don't want any contact anymore, and they go as far as to block someone from communication, then that's clear notice that they don't want communication anymore. And persistent communication after that is not legitimate contact. And I think in this case, what adds to the strength of Ms. Brennan's argument that this was not legitimate contact is the nature of the messages sent through Zelle. The messages would be, again, it looks like messages for as low as 1 cent to $1, which indicates to me that the purpose wasn't necessarily to send money, but to send a message. And then the content of the message, again, I'm just pulling some out of the exhibits: $50 to unblock. Unblock, I'll send you 100, $1,500 for dinner. Please, I'll be nice. Going to ignore me, I'm going to move on and talk to others. So that indicates to me that there was knowledge on the part of Mr. Klingel that Ms. Brennan had blocked him, didn't want any more communication, and that communication persisted through these Zelle messages. And so whether or not there was notice in the past for him to stop, that continued. Again, what I'm focused on is what happened more recently. And I think given the nature of the communication in March and after March 26th, I think that was communication made after there was clear notice that Ms. Brennan didn't want any further communication. I also find that it is relevant that while Ms. Brennan's parents and family were not parties to any kind of order, and they're still not, you know, the nature of the communication from Mr. Klingel to Ms. Brennan in the last few weeks, I think that the nature of them being without a legitimate purpose is strengthened by the fact that there was some outreach to her parents that are of a nature that, while Mr. Klingel is categorizing it as wanting to defend his reputation to people who have been told things that are bad about him, and at the same time, it's reaching out to the protected party's parents when there is a temporary no contact order put in place, which is not a technical violation of that order, but I think that does provide some context to the type of communication that is at issue here. So I do find that Ms. Brennan has met her burden of proof in proving unlawful harassment by a preponderance of the evidence. As far as the restraint provisions, they're going to be a little bit different than what's in the petition. I'll go over those now, so everyone's clear about what is and is not allowed. Is this the one? Yeah, okay. So given the nature of the communication that I'm finding to be unlawful harassment, I'm going to include a no contact restraint provision, and that's no contact, including non-physical contact directly, indirectly, through third parties, regardless of whether those third parties know about the order. And there is a built-in exception, which may be relevant here, except for service of court documents. So if there is any kind of litigation around title to this car, that's automatically built in as an exception here. But to the extent there's anything else, there's going to be that no contact provision. It sounds like the parties do not live near each other, and so I do think that because the nature of the relationship, and it sounds like there's been past visits to each other's homes, there's also going to be an exclude or stay away from provision. The default's to 1,000 feet, which doesn't sound like it's going to be a problem in this case, but it's 1,000 feet away from Miss Brennan, as well as her person, her home, and her work. I know there was a request in the petition with respect to stalking. That doesn't sound like that was really part of the petition. I understand the way stalking is described sometimes can get confused with anti-harassment, but I'm not going to include a no stalking behavior. And then simply, and then finally, there's going to be a no harm provision. So that is, do not cause any physical harm or other types of harm to the protected party. So those are going to be the restraint provisions. Given that the parties no longer have a relationship, don't have any other need to contact each other. I understand their names are both on the title here, but those restraint provisions of do not do any harm, have no contact except for legal proceedings, and exclude or stay away from with 1,000 feet buffer think hopefully should protect Ms. Brennan here, as well as, doesn't sound like it will interfere with Mr. Klingel's life too much as well. So I'll be signing that order today. Mr. Klingel, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Brennan, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. And Ms. Brennan's mother, I didn't actually catch your name.
Stacy.
Stacy, do you have any questions, ma'am?
No.
Okay.
So, no.
So the order will be in place for a year. Ms. Brennan, if you would like to renew the order, you're allowed to file a motion to renew anytime 90 days up to the expiration date, which will be a year from today. And then Mr. Klingel, so you know, if on a motion to renew protection order, the burden of proof switches to the respondent, who has to show a change in circumstances, essentially. So that's not here today, but that's how those work. All right. There's no more service requirements. Folks, we're all here today. You can get a copy of the order off the Thurston County District Court website. Mr. Klingel, if you have any trouble accessing the protection order, it sounds like you may have had some trouble accessing some exhibits. Call the Thurston County District Court Civil Department, and they can maybe help you get a copy of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Klingel. And thank you, Ms. Brennan. You're all free to go. So I know folks have been here before. Same parties have been here with positions switched. And a lot of the allegations here are sort of grounded in similar allegations. So I think we're all familiar enough with the allegations here and the responses. So rather than go over an overview here, I think what I'm going to do is give each side sort of just essentially a bit of a time limit to kind of summarize your allegations or the response. And then I'll make a decision here rather than kind of go piece by piece. I know Mr. Musgrave, you've outlined a couple of different buckets of allegations here. And so rather than me kind of go through those point by point, I'll give you some time to talk and can let me know which ones you'd like to focus on.
Sure.
All right. So it's 10:40. I think what we'll do is we'll give each side 5 minutes. And if I have some follow-up questions, we can have this be a little bit more dynamic. But again, I don't have any specific questions. I think it makes a little more sense to have folks just provide some testimony. So Mr. Musgrave, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and the whole truth? All right, go ahead.
Okay. I'm not sure.
And you also don't have to take up the full, if you want to just say, I rest on what I've filed, that's okay.
Well, you've probably read through all of this.
I have read, it looks like everything through April 20, so last Thursday.
Okay.
I know looks like exhibits were uploaded, and so I've read everything through that.
And a lot of these are from the previous one. Okay. So my issues, I think I stated the problems of what I'm requesting is that, the main thing is that the cameras are, that they're aimed at our backyard are removed, that the recordings of our private conversations are stopped and deleted, and that Adam and his family are served notice of trespass from our property. I also wanted to address the photo of the camera in the window. There was a heat signature there. I don't know how an empty box would have that. And and that being a protection order violation of the photo. I don't know if you saw the Adams reported it to the police that was a violation of the protection order. I understood we were talking video cameras recording, which have all been taken care of, not a photo of evidence, which is what I considered that. If I had thought that was part of the order, well, I'm not stupid, I wouldn't have done that. But I didn't consider a photo the same as the video recordings. And as you can see also in this, I have addressed those cameras. They are now moved. covered. So there are no video cameras in my backyard that are recording anything of Adam's house.
So I do actually have a questions, since it sounds like you raised it. So you have alleged there are cameras aimed at your backyard, and I know that Mr. Rainey there has essentially responded that the camera referenced you took a picture of one of the windows at Mr. Rainey's home. And
It was an empty box.
And yeah, saying that was I think a Funko box. Were there other cameras?
I saw 3 different heat signatures, and I didn't photograph the other ones because they were on the first floor. But that one, they would not have been able to see what I was doing the week before in my backyard from those other cameras, but they would have been able to see it from a camera on the 2nd floor, which was why I pointed that one out in particular. Yeah, anyway.
All right. And if
yeah,
you'd
so,
like to, and if you'd like to, I mean, you
take pictures.
summarized everything rather well. I think maybe, you know, if you'd like to just kind of rest on your summary of everything, I can turn it over to Mr. Rainey to talk about his response. And if I have follow-up questions too, then maybe I can start asking questions that way.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, like I said, if you read through it, I'm fairly comfortable with
Okay.
what I.
All right, I did read through that. So, okay, Mr. Rainey, what we'll do is we'll put you under oath. So if you could please raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide in this matter is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and yes, Mr. Rainey, for your benefit, I did review, looks like you filed a 6-page response on April 23rd, and I did read that. And so I did see the response with respect to that alleged camera maybe being a Funko box. I'm curious if you want to talk a little bit more about the Ring camera. I mean, I'll sort of be upfront. One reason why I granted the hearing was I know that the order in which Mr. Rainey is the protected party was grounded on privacy in the backyard. And so allegations that Mr. Musgrave made about similar violations of his privacy on filming in his backyard and into windows into his home, and then the private conversations being recorded, that more than anything else really formed the basis of my granting the hearing. Mr. Rainey, you've sort of addressed each of those directly in your responses. So those are the things that I was also concerned about, that I really set the hearing to address. And so I know that you're saying the camera, the alleged camera facing his backyard is that Funko box, and that you've provided as well some exhibits showing that the Ring camera on the side of your home that I think Mr. Musgrave was saying films into his window, and that may have been the camera that picked up the conversation that was brought up in the prior hearing when you were the petitioner, that those have been moved, or that they're no longer being used, or that the audio has been turned off, things like that. If you want to speak to those issues too.
Yeah, correctly. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Those were the things. Any cameras facing his backyard, cameras facing in his windows, and anything that picked up audio in an area where someone has a reasonable expectation of privacy. You've addressed those in your exhibits. Those were also top of mind for me. So if you want to direct your comments there, that's.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, the box that's my daughter's window. It's just the empty toy box. We don't have any cameras in our backyard at all. And as far as the Ring camera, Mr. Musgrave at our last hearing said that it was offline already because he noticed the lights. So it's been off since then and non-functional. As a courtesy, we understand his concern, and we turned it off. It was off that day. As far as seeing his backyard, we put a fence up so he doesn't have to see in our backyard any longer. So we don't have to see him. And we knew the fence, we put it up because he said he was going to do maintenance at our last hearing. So we just preemptively put the fence up in case he wanted to take the fence down, since we depend on it for our pets. I mean, there's no contact from us from his side. I mean, he has 30 cameras facing our house. Not one time has he reported anyone trespassing. So all these allegations are just untrue.
All right, so I think what I'm going to do is run through, my notes on the different claims here and kind of let folks hear where I'm at. So number one, again, primary reason that I found grounds to set the hearing is allegations of cameras on Mr. Rainey's property facing into Mr. Musgrave's backyard, that those need to be removed. I'm hearing that there's there's two ways that Mr. Musgrave is substantiating those claims. Number one is viewing what was believed to be a camera that having reviewed the photo myself, not just the one blown up by Mr. Rainey, but the photo that was included in Mr. Musgrave's petition. I agree, at least to me, if you really look at it, and I have Funko boxes myself at home, it does appear to be a Funko box. Now, Mr. Musgrave is saying that the cameras he has show heat signatures around that area, as well as that Mr. Rainey or his family know about where he may have been at certain times, and sort of that being circumstantial evidence that he's being recorded. Frankly, I don't know if that meets the preponderance of the evidence standard, that it's more likely than not that forms the basis of me being able to conclude that Mr. Rainey has cameras pointed at your backyard. So, at this point, I don't think that there's anything in the exhibits or in the evidence that I can look to say, all right, there are cameras that by court order, Mr. Rainey needs to remove. The issue that I was concerned about when the petition was filed was that camera on the side of the house, because I do recall from the first hearing that there was a camera on Mr. Rainey's side of his house that did pick up that private conversation from Mr. Rainey. I know, Mr. Musgrave, you've also inquired in the exhibits, kind of what do we do with that? And I think that was addressed at that prior hearing. The remedy by law in that case is the content of what is recorded without consent is not admissible as evidence against someone in a civil hearing, and it was excluded in that last hearing. I didn't consider that, and
sorry, it's excluded from evidence.
so you had asked in this petition, you had asked what was the remedy of that of your conversation being recorded, right, without your consent. And what I was saying is, well, the remedy occurred at that last hearing, which is under the statute that says you're not allowed to record someone without their consent. It says the consequence of that is if that evidence is attempted to be used against the person who was recorded, then that evidence is suppressed and not used. And so at that last hearing, I did not consider that as evidence against you.
In that particular.
Yes, and so
is it still a crime?
Well, and that's where, you're welcome to call police if you think a crime is being committed. I'm not going to make any kind of conclusion about something being a crime or not being a crime. And it sounds like Mr. Rainey, in response, has provided evidence that camera is no longer.
But it could be turned right back on.
Sure, but in order for the court to issue some kind of order in an anti-harassment protection order, there needs to be a knowing and willful course of conduct that's persisting. And from my view of the evidence is that you've discovered that a camera on Mr. Rainey's property had picked up a conversation as part of that prior hearing. We addressed it, and it sounds like at this point that camera was then turned off and not recording anymore. And so, you're saying, well, what if he turns it back on? The court's going to need evidence of an ongoing pattern of behavior of you being recorded, your conversations being recorded, in order for the court to have grounds to take any action against.
But even if that camera is turned on, it doesn't have to necessarily record me to be looking into.
Right. Well,
our
and it sounds
house.
like though that camera's off.
For now, that's why I'd asked that it be moved someplace where it can't be looking directly into our house.
Yeah, and that's, so I'm not gonna sort of prospectively order cameras that aren't currently being alleged to have
But-
violated someone's
But I
privacy.
had to move mine.
Right, because that was, those cameras were on, right? And they were pointed at,
But they were, the view of his
Mhm.
property was blocked by the camera. Those cameras have, the one that they were concerned about has the ability to block that part of its view.
right, well, in my understanding, Mr. Rainey, is that the camera on the side of the house, is that, was that moved? I can't, now I don't recall from your.
The
No,
camera on the side
I
of the
thought
home,
he had-
Oh, hang on. Go ahead, Mr. Rainey.
the camera on the side of the home is disabled. It's deleted and the battery is removed. It's non-functional.
Yeah, all right, and so, and the other thing with that one, with that camera in particular is, my concern there was primarily around the audio recording. And because when it comes to where people can put their Ring cameras, to capture video versus audio, it is a little bit different, because, that's why people have Ring cameras, right? They film the sidewalk, they film someone's front door, they film the driveway. You do not have a reasonable expectation of privacy in places where you're already sort of out in public. If being familiar with these properties, the camera is filmed, or the camera was pointed at the end over the side door entrance to Mr. Rainey's home, that did capture a portion of Mr. Musgrave's home, but this is also an unfenced side yard
It is fenced.
that pictures.
It's completely fenced. It had a gate. It had a fenced gate as well. In fact, that's one of the things I recently included was so you could see that there was a gate and there was a fence that
Right,
was there
but
at the time.
the camera at issue, right, is, I'm looking at the picture of the two homes now, and the camera at issue is over the side entrance to Mr. Rainey's home that is exposed to the front yard and the street. And is that right?
No, the side door is exposed to the street. It used to be the garage. They added the door off the side of the garage. Their entrance is like 30 feet away around the corner, the entrance to the front of the house. That side door is not used for public entrance
Okay,
at
right,
all.
but so the side door, this is the camera that you're concerned had picked up the audio from the first case. Is that
And
right?
looks into our house.
Right, so,
Right.
so I'm looking at, now I'm going back to, I think you put the screenshot from the incident where your audio was picked up.
Right.
So I'm looking at the camera, and unless things have changed, what I can see is, is you talking to your friend. I can see Nova Middle School, I can see the street, I can see the sidewalk. This area is not.
Okay, it's hard to see, but right there in the photo is one of the fence posts.
Right, but but this is what the view looks like, isn't that right? The view in the camera.
Right, it's looking over the top of the fence, right?
So the reason I'm bringing this up is, this is an area where a Ring camera can go. The issue isn't, for this camera, the issue was picking up audio without consent, right? Because it is, yes, it is part of your house is on the camera.
And it was in a fenced in area. There was a.
Right, but I mean
fence
more
gate.
the fence here, it's not when we're talking about a fence in this context, we're talking about, is this a fence that if you're on the other side of it, it's indicating you have a reasonable expectation of privacy. And here, the area being filmed by the Ring camera is exposed all the way. Again, I'm looking at Nova Middle School. I mean, so it's across the street. You can see into this area. So you being in this area doesn't necessarily give rise to a reasonable expectation of privacy. Now, again, your audio being recorded without your consent is a different issue. And that's the issue that we took up in that first case. And it sounds like Mr. Rainey has disabled that feature as part of this camera. The camera itself, though, as a Ring camera is traditionally used, this is not a place that I think is violating anyone's reasonable expectation of privacy. Because again, it is in an area that is fully exposed to the sidewalk, the street over.
It's like 40 feet from the street.
Yeah, but I
It's
find
like
that
80 feet from
right.
that school.
But I think that the position of the camera, I think is not something I'm concerned with as far as a violation of a reasonable expectation of privacy. It was the audio recording for that camera in particular. Going down the line, you've also brought up essentially wanting Mr. Rainey and his family to be served notice of trespassing. And it's the grounds there. So first of all, there's nothing about the anti-harassment process that has a formal relationship with a trespass notice. You as a private property owner are free, and sounds like you have put up no trespassing signs on your property. The way the unlawful harassment process would interact with that is if there is trespassing that then also meets the definitions that we've gone over before, trespassing happening as a ongoing course of conduct for the purpose of harassing that reasonably causes substantial emotional distress. You've alleged that Mr. Rainey's daughters, again, have gone onto your property to retrieve Amazon boxes, and that there's been occasional times when they've walked across your
daughter and son, after the no trespassing sign and fence were up, snuck across the front yard.
Yeah.
Rather than walk around, come up the driveway, which is what I understand is the proper path to the front door when there's no trespassing signs.
And so there's a difference. There's three types of trespassing here. So there's criminal trespassing, right? Where you would, and you have called the police saying, someone is coming onto my property without my permission. And so, if you feel that is happening and someone is criminally trespassing against you because they have notice not to come onto your property and they're doing it anyway, you call the police, that's a criminal matter. There's civil trespassing where you have to show that this is causing me some kind of damage. And, there you have to actually show, there's this level of damage. For purposes of harassment, again, there needs to be trespassing to a point where it's a knowing and willful course of conduct happening for the purpose of harassing a specific person, and that causes substantial emotional distress.
The incidents I have brought up with the contractors.
Well, and again, we can't just say trespassing for a bunch of different people. We have to stay focused on specific allegations. So you've alleged that Mr. Rainey's daughters are trespassing as grounds for anti-harassment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's just one. That's like the last incident, but there were
right. But at
least a half a dozen incidents before that where I had to keep telling people to get off of my property.
The daughters in particular?
Huh?
The daughters in particular?
No.
Well, that's why, again,
the
we can't.
Rainey's contractors who kept using my lawn.
So that's of the
staging
contractors.
their
That's a different issue too. So we'll get to the contractors.
But they were telling them to use my lawn.
Okay, but we're going to stay on the daughters for a second. Okay, because
Okay.
you have to allege trespassing against someone, right? And so you can't say I'm being trespassed against by these people and the contractors.
I had also pointed out the roofing people. That was one of the
Right, that's right.
specific incidents.
So staying on the daughters though, I don't think that there's trespassing by Mr. Rainey's daughters in a way that satisfies the unlawful harassment statute. I don't think there's a pattern of behavior of them coming onto your lawn.
I thought that repeated trespassing.
Even if it
was.
happens more than once, again, that there needs to be an ongoing course of conduct that rises to the level of causing.
Well, that's why I was
reasonable-
mentioning all
hang
the
on,
contractors that led up to me
Yeah,
having
but see, I
to put
think,
the
Mr.
fence up and
Musgrave,
the
what you're
signs up and the
missing, okay,
cameras
hang
up.
on. The point that you're missing is you need to allege trespassing against
Each one of
specific
those-
individuals,
Okay.
right? And so you're saying you were trespassed because Mr. Rainey's contractors and roofers, a couple years ago used the part of your property for their work. And then also,
Will have been ongoing over
Right.
the last
yeah,
2.5
so
years.
you need to, there needs to be more of a focused allegation, because I can't just say, the world around Mr. Rainey's property that is trespassing against you, there needs to be specific instances that you're tying these allegations to against specific
Okay.
people,
Um,
right? And so you've alleged, number one, you've alleged Mr. Rainey's daughters for
Right,
trespassing against
and the roofers and the paver installers.
All right, so I'm not finding that any of this rises to a level of an ongoing course of conduct, a knowing and willful course of conduct, that there's trespassing happening. Now, if you're against you, now, if you've alleged many times that you think there is property damage on your property from Mr. Rainey's contractors
Right.
and the roofers, right? And I think you've also acknowledged that that is property damage, and that's,
Right.
if you want to bring a small claims action or any other kind of lawsuit against Mr. Rainey for property damage, that's different than
Right, yeah,
unlawful
right,
harassment.
which is planned, yeah.
Right,
But
so that's different than unlawful harassment. So,
I still don't understand. Like I said, the pavers, the roofers, there was the one photograph that I included that showed all of the different projects that are on that side of the house that he has had contractors stage those projects on my lawn. And I've had to go out there and tell those contractors to move their stuff off of the lawn.
I know, and to the extent that you have alleged that those contractors are coming onto your lawn to stage the work, I'm finding that that's not a knowing and willful course of conduct for the purpose of harassing you that would reasonably cause substantial emotional distress.
He knew that I told them to stop doing that, and he would still send them over there.
Right, no, I understand. And again, to the extent you have a property damage claim that you would like to litigate, that needs to just be litigated. That's not for unlawful harassment.
Yeah, that's, I understand that's completely different. I just feel like there has been a pattern of trespassing.
I understand. So Mr. Rainey, maybe it would be helpful to, if you'd like to maybe provide some concluding remarks on, when you've got contractors doing home improvement projects, where you're telling them to go. If you're, having them avoid, coming on to.
Yeah,
Mr.
we
Musk.
actually do, anyone that comes to our home to do any kind of work at all, we tell them to avoid that side of the yard because Mr. Musgrave will come out and yell at them and say things to them. So we tell them just avoid that area altogether and they stay on the other side. I mean, I don't know where he's coming up with that. They're walking there constantly. We haven't had any work done in years. And honestly, it's kind of ridiculous. And the only other thing I would like to address is Mr. Musgrave has cameras pointed directly at our driveway 24/7. He claims in his filings, and then he's posting the videos up on YouTube. And I don't understand how that is different than his claim that we're recording him from a Ring camera.
Right, okay, so I want to stay on the contractors piece of it. Yeah, so
The roofers were there this year, not years ago.
right, well, if
The
I
thing,
understand.
the thing about roofing is they were very careful. There's a dumpster in the front of the house they were scraping into, but there's wind, things accidentally blow over. It was like one piece that fell on our side of the yard that he threw over. So this allegation that people are throwing stuff on his yard is unfounded and ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah, so we're gonna put that that allegation to rest. So Mr. Musgrave, I understand you're frustrated. Sounds like, you know, in your mind that there's ongoing trespassing on your property from contractors working for Mr. Rainey.
Why the fence and the signs are there
Right,
and the cameras?
right, I understand. For purposes of getting an unlawful harassment order, I'm not finding that that constitutes a knowing and willful course of conduct that would reasonably cause substantial emotional distress, or that's engaged in for the purpose of harassing. I'd find that that's just not in evidence at this point. Now, again, if you feel your property has been damaged or you think people are criminally trespassing, you know, you have rights to call the police or to file a lawsuit. But at this point, I'm not finding there any grounds for unlawful harassment for what's been alleged there. On the recording piece of it, you know, Mr. Rainey, to address your concern there, it was cameras pointed, again, this is where we get into where is there a reasonable expectation of privacy, and it can get a gray area. There's a big difference between front yards, driveways, things like that that are exposed to the world, and areas that are more private. The issue before was, again, this is why it's a gray area. When you're on the side of the house that is between the two of your homes, that is exposed to the sidewalk. But when it's a private conversation between two people kind of off on the side of the house on their own property, that's a little bit different than somebody out front in a driveway near a sidewalk. So for purposes of what kind of audio gets recorded, I think those are different situations. But again, I think for purposes of where your ring camera is, as far as it not recording audio on the side of the house that reaches all the way over to Mr. Musgrave's property, you know, that sounds like it's already been addressed, and you're not recording audio over that camera. But you know, to the extent that Mr. Musgrave has cameras pointed at driveways and in the front yard and the sidewalk, you know, that's clearly a public area where there's less of a reasonable expectation of privacy there. There was allegations about landscape trespassing, landscaping being over the property line. Again, there's a lot in the allegations around conflicts in property lines. Again, that's not something we address here at the anti-harassment calendar. Those disputes are litigated in Superior Court. So if they're if folks want to petition for a boundary line adjustment, do a quiet title action, you know, to really verify where the property line is, again, that's a matter for Superior Court. We don't resolve that here.
Both his contractor and I know that you can find the steel pins in the plat.
And that's right. That's contractor's opinions on a property line is not, you know, that's one thing. But if there's a legal dispute over property lines, that needs to be resolved.
Okay. I used a metal detector to find the steel pin at the front. Right. Which is one of those things I read is the way to find the property line.
So on balance here, again, the two things that I was primarily concerned with in the petition were if the fenced backyard area of Mr. Musgrave's property was being recorded by cameras on Mr. Rainey's property. That was my first concern. I think that has been addressed, and I'm not finding that there's evidence of that occurring by preponderance of the evidence.
Your Honor.
Yep.
Am I able then to photograph the other cameras that I believe are there?
Hang on. We'll get back to that. The second is the camera on the side, the camera over the side entrance to Mr. Rainey's home, where there was originally the concern about private recording of private conversations without consent. Mr. Rainey indicated that camera no longer has that audio feature. There was evidence of that occurring one time. There's not evidence of a pattern of behavior, a course of conduct where Mr. Musgrave's private conversations are being recorded. And so given that, and given the testimony from Mr. Rainey that audio feature has been turned off, I'm not finding grounds for an anti-harassment order on that front as well. We've addressed the trespassing and the property damage and the property line disputes, as well as not relevant for anti-harassment orders. Mr. Musgrave has asked about, is he able to take pictures of Mr. Rainey's property as evidence that his privacy is being violated? You know, there's an order in place, and I know there's a question about the current order and the restraint provisions in the current order, where Mr. Rainey is the protected party and Mr. Musgrave is the respondent. There are 3 restraint provisions, and they say, number 1, there's no cameras recording petitioner's backyard or pointed at petitioner's windows. Number 2, no cameras on petitioner's side, so Mr. Rainey's side of the fence. Number 3, no pictures placed by Mr. Musgrave on Mr. Rainey's side of the boundary fence. So this seems to be a question about cameras recording Mr. Rainey's backyard or pointed at Mr. Rainey's window. You know, Mr. Musgrave, if you feel that you're seeing evidence that your privacy is being violated by cameras pointed at your window, you know, I'm not going to say you can't take that picture. The language of the anti-harassment order in place prohibits the recording of Mr. Rainey's backyard or cameras pointed at Mr. Rainey's windows. You know, and I think in context too, that was, it was recording cameras is what we were talking about.
Right. Yeah.
But,
we
you
were
know, at the
talking
same
about
time, you
video
got to be
cameras.
careful though, because there is this order here in place. And, you know, if you're doing things like taking pictures of the windows at Mr. Rainey's home, and it turns out to be a toy box or something like that, you know, that's, well, you want to be careful about that. You really,
Yeah, so-
you're going to want to have a little more solid evidence that your backyard is being recorded before taking pictures and doing things like that, and coming back to court.
Okay,
So I want to caution
like
you.
I said,
about that.
I had picked up a heat source there. It looked like there was a camera lens. I realize now that's probably the part of the box.
Okay, but Mr. Ray or Mr. Musgrave, you know, also be careful, because you're talking about, you've got a device picking up heat sources, right, at Mr. Rainey's
That
home.
was a few weeks ago.
Right, and so, you know, I remind you that, you know, there's this order in place saying you're not allowed to be recording or having cameras pointed at Mr. Rainey's windows or backyards. And so to the extent you have devices that are picking up heat signatures, right? I mean, so you got to
My
be
phone.
careful about that.
It was my phone.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
it was just an app on the phone that does that. And so I checked one time to see, and like, I think I put in one thing that I saw 2 or 3 heat sources there.
All right. Well, okay.
Yeah,
but
I mean, and there's other ways to find cameras with their infrared or their blue light, night vision stuff. That's why I'm asking is, if there are still cameras over there and I want to prove there are still cameras pointing at my backyard, am I allowed to do that?
Yes, you are, but you can't. I'm not going to give you legal advice, right? But that's, you've heard what the petition against you says.
Right.
If you have a reasonable this whole thing started with allegations of infringement on a reasonable expectation of privacy, right? And so I would also caution you on, you know, if your need to collect evidence of an invasion of your privacy raises to the level of you needing to get night vision goggles and heat sourcing, I mean, that's before, right? There were cameras pointed into Mr. Rainey's backyard that were causing emotional distress on the part of Mr. Rainey and his family, right? Part of the anti-harassment order statute, as I went in before, is it needs to cause, the behavior alleged needs to cause someone substantial emotional distress, right? And so if you're needing to seek out that type of evidence against you, it also, you know, there's an issue there. Are you feeling a substantial emotional distress because of something happening to you, versus you going out and trying to find something that's going to,
I'm
so
stressed. I'm very stressed. You could talk to
yes,
my
I
therapist
can
about that.
tell. So again, I'm not going to give you legal advice, and I'm not going to say what is or is not a violation of the order. What I'm going to say is, you know, if you want more specific questions answered about that, you can always talk to an attorney. And keep in mind that the order in place right now prohibits the recording of Mr. Rainey's backyard or recording, having cameras pointed at Mr. Rainey's windows, given that he has a reasonable expectation of privacy. in those windows.
The cameras recording to me meant video. I didn't consider a photo recording. I understand. I have looked up to see whether a photo is considered a recording, and there is references to that in Washington law because it's a record.
Mhm.
The photo is a record. It's, yeah.
Okay.
But that's not, from a layman's term, what I thought we were talking about.
And there's not an allegation against you as part of this hearing. So and
Right,
this
but
is
there
all
is an allegation
right.
against me
well,
based on that protection order
Right.
that
that's not being heard today. And again, I don't want to wade too far into those waters because that's not before the court right now.
I'm just trying to be clear about
Yeah,
whether
and that's why I'm
was
having this
recording.
discussion, is because I do want to try to resolve confusion here so
Uh-huh.
that folks aren't coming back to court. And unfortunately, the scenario you're bringing up, I think, has a lot of gray areas. So that's why all I'm going to do is caution you and advise you maybe talk to an attorney before you do things like that.
Yeah, well,
because
that's what I was asking. I'm not
right, and
planning on
I
doing
can't
that
give you
again
legal
unless
advice on complying with the order.
yeah.
All I can do is
Because I
read
don't-
you the order and read you, what the unlawful harassment statute is. Mr. Rainey, do you have any questions? I know you've been here during all this.
No, I have no questions. I just want Mr. Musgrave to understand that we do not find him interesting enough to record him, to watch him. We don't have any feeling for him. So all this nonsense about whether to take pictures of my backyard are kind of silly because we don't care to do that and we have no cameras. So, I mean, that's all I have to say about that matter.
All right. Okay. Well, so that'll be it for today's hearing. So I'm not going to sign an order. Mr. Musgrave, if you have questions about what kind of conduct may or may not violate the order, I strongly suggest you talk to a lawyer. Particularly if you get into this kind of gray area of, using your phone to capture heat signatures and things like that. I'm not going to tell you if that's a violation or not, but I do suggest you talk to a lawyer before doing that.
Who does tell me? I'm confused.
A lawyer. You're going to have to talk to a lawyer who can give you legal advice.
My wife's an attorney,
Okay.
and I do talk to her, and she says, yeah, hang on.
Okay.
But she's like kind of confused by the same bit of the recordings and photo and whether that's what you intended by
Well,
that
the
order.
intent, this is the last thing I'll say, and I'll let folks go. The intent is to not infringe upon the Rainey's reasonable expectation of privacy. Right. So that's the whole reason of this whole order and of the statute. Is part of the reason here is there an unreasonable infringement on a petitioner's reasonable expectation of privacy? So maybe it would be helpful to go back and not focus so much on the exact definition of what is a recording versus what is a photo. Think about what is a reasonable expectation of privacy, right? Because that is what the statute is intended to protect. And so is somebody using their cell phone with an app that reads heat signatures or night vision, but it's not necessarily recording? Does that violate this order? Again, I talk to an attorney. I'm not going to say, and I'm not going to tell you one way or another. I'm not going to give legal advice, but I do suggest that you think about what is the purpose of the order here, which is to protect a reasonable expectation of privacy, and whether or not observing that kind of data would make someone feel like their privacy is being infringed or not. So think about it that way. Again, I'm not going to provide any answers here. Think about it that way. I'm not going to sign an order today. And
what about his camera looking in our house?
we've addressed
I
that.
understand he's turned it off, but it's not that hard to turn it back on.
Well, again, we've addressed that already. So I'm not signing an order today. You're all free to go. Again, if you have questions about the order that's in place.
I kind of felt like yeah, that's okay, it's there, as long as he doesn't turn it back on, but if he turned it back on, then he would be violating a protection order, that's what I was hoping. Because it's just that easy, it's like me pointing a camera at his backyard again.
Right, but well,
And none are pointed there
right,
right
no,
now,
right,
but
but
they could
it's not
easily
on
be
right now, right?
recorded.
So what I would need is evidence of um, ongoing recording in a way that violates Mr. Rainey's reasonable expectation of privacy. The only evidence I had of that was the private conversation that had been recorded before. And that was one incident. I wanted, and there hadn't been more. It sounds like it's been turned off. So there's not a basis for me to issue an order on that basis right now.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Rainey. Thank you, Mr. Musgrave. That will be all for today.
Thank you, Honor. Well, basically, as you are aware, the Mr. Musgrave is upset that he believes that there's some damage done, which is, I'm not here to agree or disagree with that, but the method he's going about in trying to get an agreement or settlement from it by, extortion and harassment is clearly a pattern that we need to stop. And even after he was served, he tried to contact us 2 other times. One time we had to call the police to remind him that we don't want contact from him. And so we are just asking the court to help us stop him from this continual harassment every day.
Mr. Rainey, and maybe you could point me in the right direction. Is one of your requests to have no communication from Mr. Musgrave?
Yeah, I don't know him. I'm not friends with him. I have no business with him, and I don't need any contact from him.
And for the court to issue some sort of order prohibiting communication from Mr. Musgrave to you, or I understand you've also included your minor children in the petition. Are there allegations in the petition that you can point me to, or your exhibits, indicating that verbal communication from Mr. Musgrave that you felt was harassment that persisted after him being told to stop? I've got the signs and the cameras and the letters and things of that nature. I'm specifically, and we can get to those. Specifically though, I'm wondering about, to the extent you're requesting no communication, if there are allegations in the petition that I missed as far as him communicating verbally with, you and your family that you wish to have stopped.
Well, and I've only spoken to him probably 4, maybe 5 times, and 4 of those, out of those have been him just coming over and yelling at us. I mean, there's no other communication that we've had with him.
All right. And then so that I'm, again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to be I'm not testifying for you or anything. I just want to make sure I understand exactly what it is you're asking for. So you, to the extent there are allegations of the cameras pointed at your house, you want the cameras down. Is that right?
Well, I mean, there's no need for them to be pointing, 5, 6, how many cameras he has at my house in my backyard. We've never once gone in his backyard over a fence or, I mean, as far as, walking on his lawn, it happened one time. My daughter went to get her Christmas presents. There's been no other trespassing from my family in the 7 years that we've lived here. And yeah, I mean, then, taking pictures of us in our backyard and then posting them in his window and on signs is just simply not normal behavior.
And then as far as the signs, is the request to have the signs removed?
Yes, I mean, he's posted signs on our side of the fence in our backyard. So yeah, we would request like all the signs be removed.
Which signs are you saying are on your property?
The photographs he took of me in my backyard, He printed and posted them in his window and in his front yard, and then hung them on the inside of our fence in our backyard.
It's in the response.
And then the letters. I understand there's been, I think, 3 letters regarding a potential lawsuit.
Correct.
Is the request to have no more written correspondence?
Correct.
Is there anything else that I'm missing?
I mean, it's just basically we want to stop the signs being put up. We need to stop him, you know, trying to contact us. I mean, in fact, on Monday after the scheduling hearing, he stood at the end of his driveway, turned and looked at my window, smiled and waved. So he's not understanding what we're trying to do here. And then on Wednesday morning, he tried to talk with me. So we had the police come out and, you know, remind him that, you know, we're in the middle of this petition.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Rainey. All right, Mr. Musgrave, if you could please raise your right hand.
Yes.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to provide us the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. And you heard there from Mr. Rainey. It sounds like you've got some responses. So go ahead, just to help frame frame your responses as far as what I'm looking at. I'm looking primarily at allegations of cameras on your property, either on the shared fence, looking into their backyard, or signs that are hung on the basically on their side of the fence, or things of that nature. And you're welcome to address other matters as well.
Let's start with the fence. The fence is built entirely on our property. I let them know that several times. Nobody, well, at the time, the property that they live on now was under foreclosure. The owner there didn't want to have anything to do with paying for a fence. So it's about an inch or two onto beyond our property line onto our fence. So it's not their fence.
And one thing you
if
may
it's on
put
the
this
other
from-
side, if I put something on the other side of my fence, it's on the other side.
Right. So, okay. One thing that this court can't do is resolve property line disputes, as you may have heard from the previous case. So, so that's not something I can resolve.
Okay.
What I can look at, though, at this point is where there's a fence, and it's less in the vein of, you know, who has property rights to what side of the fence, and more of a, you know, where is there a reasonable expectation of privacy? Where where is it understood at this point, given a location of a fence? Again, is there that understanding that this is, you know, the neighbor's backyard?
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
And one of the things I had pointed out in my response is, and probably saw the clear pictures of that drawing or line drawing conversion from a actual photograph is a picture of Adam flipping me off from the other side of the fence. I showed, like, I walked out my backyard and he started yelling at me. I don't have voice recordings on my backyard fences, or I'd be able to give you that tirade. Anyway, so that if he had waved and smiled, been present neighbor, there'd be no issue with that photo at all. It'd be a pleasant photo. Nobody'd be complaining about it. It's only because of that response to me walking out the back door that I took a picture of while he was in the middle of the tirade that he has a problem with.
And where's that? Is that sign located on your property?
It's on my property. Yes. Yep. Both. There's signs in my window inside my house. There were the 2 signs I had outside are gone. The one that was sitting right next to their health, mental health matters pointed at that sign, not at his house, that had that picture on it. When it got knocked over, it had 2 more of those pictures on it. Had long since been removed, and those pictures were repurposed for the backyard next to where he was flipping me off.
Which which picture is on, I understand there might be some disputes on the location or ownership of the
Right.
fence, but which picture is on the side? Is there a picture, I should say, is there a picture on the side of the fence
That he can see.
that he can see that's
Yes.
sort of on, okay,
Yes.
which picture is that?
That same one.
Okay.
That's the
Alright.
picture of him flipping me off.
Okay.
You know, like I said, I think I put it in my response. It's a reflection of,
Right.
how I see him.
All right. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Hmm?
If there's, thank you. That was my questions on the pictures. You're welcome to continue if there's, other matters you wanted to respond to. Oh, that's right. You're kind of hard of hearing, is it right?
Sorry.
Okay. No, I remember that from last week. I was saying that was my question on the pictures. You're welcome to proceed on responding to the other allegations, if you have anything further.
I'm welcome to what?
Proceed on addressing any of the other allegations.
Oh, okay. Okay. I wasn't sure which ones you were concerned. Oh, and I know there was three things that or at least two things that I was really concerned with. One of them was stating that I had a camera pointed at his daughter's bedroom. And if you looked at that, you've seen the actual view from that camera is watching the backside of my fence. You may have seen on that page too that there was junk piled up against my fence. That's why I have that camera back there. They destroyed property before and then claimed they didn't. I'm gonna track them now so that if they do that again, I have proof. I don't have video proof of them destroying my lawn. If they trespass again or damage my yard or damage that fence, I want to have video proof so I don't have to go through a year of trying to gather evidence to be able to prove it.
Is the reason that you have a camera facing the Rainey's backyard, for things that are piled up against the fence, is that because you're claiming that area is your property line and so you want to see?
Because the entire fence is my property, yes.
Okay, so that's the reason.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
I like to interject with questions.
Yeah,
so
no problem at all. I want to make sure you understand everything that's going on. The other one is the allegation of filing a false police report regarding that trespassing. You've looked at the pictures. The pictures in the diagram, you can see what I'm talking about. I think I also, well, in fact, I know I posted a thing about how I feel about trespassing. And I realized after I wrote that statement at the very top of that page that that was something that Junior Achievement taught us before we went out to do door-to-door sales. You don't cut across people's lawns. You walk down the driveway, up the walk to the front door, and then you leave the same way and walk down the street to the next house. That's something I've been taught since I was in high school. There's also a couple of references in there. One is to a Supreme Court case where the officers were okay with having approached the house with no trespassing signs on it because they took the proper route. They walked up the driveway to the front walk and up to the door. That's always been my understanding of what trespassing is that if there's signs posted, you can only approach the proper way. And they snuck across the front yard it didn't approach the front way, grabbed a couple of things and ran. And I still don't know what happened to that third package, by the way. I didn't have anything to do that day. And those packages, when they grabbed them, were not in the same places where the packages were when they were dropped off. I don't know what that third package was. But anyway, that was never the issue. If you look at the transcript of my discussion with the patrol officer, I never said anything about theft. In fact, I said if it was their packages, then it wasn't a theft because I told him they looked at the packages and then acted like they recognized the address on them. So it gave me the impression that they were grabbing something that was theirs, not just something random, but they were still trespassing across my yard to do it. Those two things like really concern me. And I don't know if those were part of the issues that concerned you as well. But those were a couple of things I wanted to address. The cameras, like I said, I have more than 30 cameras on my property. Most of those are aimed at where, okay, so there's 2 crows that visit me every day, a murder of crows every day this week, seagulls, blue jays or Stellar's jays, had half a dozen wood ducks in my backyard yesterday, dozen squirrels every day, stray cats, couple of raccoons wander through every night. I have hours of photos and videos of animals every day. I'll post some of those online, but well, it's a hobby. The cameras I do have in Adams area, I put the first one out there the day after that property damage was done to see if anybody walked back out there again. And that's when I saw Thania out there, when I talked to her about the damage to the property. I have added other cameras out there, the one with a spotlight, so I can, because people were out there at night doing stuff and I didn't know. So, because that first camera I put out there didn't have spotlight on it. And then the those 2 cameras weren't seeing the far end of that side of the house. So I have a couple cameras down there, but I'd rather replace them with a single outside camera. Those 2 are on the inside. Anyway, so the purpose of those cameras, those 4, were to watch that side yard in case they came back to do more, and they did. And the only people I've ever yelled at is their contractors from my driveway saying, no, you can't do that. And then I've gone over there and talked to them about why I'm not letting their contractors back on my side yard again because of the property damage. Some of their contractors have been really cool really nice about it. One guy offered to go grab the floor pad out of his pickup to put under his ladder so it wouldn't damage the lawn. Another guy ended up putting a metal strap around a pole that electrical pole that I couldn't get to the top of it and come out. Anyway, so some of the guys have been really nice. Some of them haven't, but most of the time they've just been real understanding and gotten their stuff off of our lawn. But I have had to chase off several contractors from setting up their project on our lawn. Okay, so and I have gone through and addressed every camera that Adam brought up. There's a few that I can see the fence from the far side of the yard. There's the ones that he was concerned about that is in my pickup that has kept anybody from stealing from my mailbox lately. And the other one that just watches who's pulling into my driveway, so I get an alert notice before they show up at my front door. Those are pointed across my front yard, and Adam's house is on the far side of my property. So, I mean, they're parked on the far side from his property, where the pickup is, but that has a camera above it and camera in it. And I have reported the postal thefts to both the postmaster and the police department. They're on record if that was ever in question. Like I said, signs are gone. They were responses to signs he put up. And and I would appreciate him taking down those signs and the Ring doorbell that's pointed into our house. It looked like they moved some of the stuff that was leaned up against the fence yesterday. I appreciate that. And the Ring doorbell looked like it was in an initialized phase yesterday. That is the blue lights blinking, which means it either lost power or it was being reinitialized. But that would be okay with me if it wasn't used anymore. I don't like looking into our house.
Right. And Mr. Musgrave, I know there's a lot of allegations to parse
Yeah.
through.
I think
If
I
you have
addressed
about-
all of them in the
Yeah,
response. If there's anything in particular you want me to cover more,
No, I think
They
your
weren't happy.
response and your testimony today thoroughly covers the allegations. What I'm going to do is turn it back to Mr. Rainey. It's his petition. He's got the burden of proof, so he's got the last word. Mr. Rainey, if you want to take a few moments to have some concluding remarks, and then I'll make a decision.
Yes, sir. So I have to take exception with the the claim that he came out and I yelled at him in his backyard. You know, I actually do have a witness to that. My wife was outside at the same time. I was out taking care of our pets, and I saw a flash out of the corner of my eye. I turned around, and he's standing there with a camera taking pictures. And I said, "Why are you taking pictures?" And that's where it started. And then he put those pictures in his windows. And as far as like, you know, the trespassing, you know, my daughter's 15 years old. She was excited. Her packages were misdelivered and she ran across the yard. I mean, there's no intent for anything other than get her packages. And as far as the sign on my door, my wife and I run a home daycare. Those signs that say kindness begins here are meant for a preschooler, not for Mr. Musgraves. So, I mean, the Ring doorbell is there because we have a business. We have to know who's coming to our door because we have children that we're taking care of. And that's the purpose. And the sign is not meant for him. And in fact, if he wants to go look at our front door, we have rainbows and bubbles on it. Those are not meant for him either. So, I mean, it sounds like all his testimony here is just justification for behavior that's not neighborly or normal. And we just want to take these pictures down and the signs to go away and for him to, you know, stop his harassment of us.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rainey. All right. So what I'm going to do is I am going to enter an order, but it's going to be significantly reduced in scope from what's requested. And it's really just going to order Mr. Musgrave to remove any cameras facing the Rainey household backyard or direct pointed at windows. It's also going to and if there are cameras not pointed at the windows, that's fine.
okay, I don't have any
and-
cameras pointed at the windows. The one camera that I have with the floodlight, I've got around the side of the house as much as I can and angled as far as I can that direction.
Mhm.
It does have a wide angle and you can see sideways across those windows. You can't see directly and sideways across it.
Okay.
But that particular camera, I can mask. Again, I'm a camera professional.
Right.
I can mask out that part of the view, both from you know, what causes the camera to turn on and any sound that comes from that.
Okay.
I'm at the end of it's a powered cable. I've got it plugged in and I'm at the end of where the cable can go and it's up in an eave, right underneath to avoid rain on it.
Okay.
If I go buy a longer power cable and rewire it, I can probably move it further. I thought about trying to do that, but then I need to move it up into the eave, keep it below the eave. I don't have a ladder that'll get that far. I'm looking at buying one at this point.
Okay,
So I
yeah.
am trying to not
Right.
have that at all pointing, not even have the windows at an angle in that shot.
Okay.
But it isn't there yet, but that camera doesn't have a clear view into any windows. The other one that you've seen that he was claiming is on, look at his daughter's window, looks down.
Well, and to the extent that there were cameras, and Mr. Rainey, correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed like some of the cameras that were of concern with the windows were the cameras also in the backyard. And to that extent, when it comes to cameras, on a private residence, you are able to record images of areas where there's not a reasonable expectation of privacy. So that's front yards, doorsteps, to some extent side yards, but where someone has expressed a reasonable expectation of privacy, and that includes a backyard, particularly if there's a fence. I understand there's disputes about the location of the fence. Those are areas where you can't film because there's an expectation of privacy. Now, it sounds like Mr. Musgrave, is claiming there's some sort of property line dispute. So I am ordering that the cameras that are currently on the fence and on the Rainey side of the fence need to be taken down, as well as the pictures that are on the inside, on the Rainey household side of the fence. Now, if you litigate the property line dispute and it is determined where the property line is, and if that's somewhere different than where it is now, you can always revisit who can do what in what areas. But for right now, it sounds to me like there's a fence that divides the property on the Rainey household side. That's the Rainey household side until that property line issue is litigated and those lines are determined by a court. Again, that's nothing I can do.
Yep.
So for the time being, though, cameras on Mr. Rainey's side of the fence, pictures on Mr. Rainey's side of the fence, cameras pointed at the Rainey household backyard or on the back side of the house. Those will have to come down.
The one that's on my side, aiming at my side yard, that has
Is that area fenced off? Is the side area fenced off?
Yes, it is.
On their side is fenced.
It's not on their side. It's on my side of my house. That camera's on the side of my house and aimed as much as I can turn it down the side of my house.
Oh, down the side of your, okay, so that's
Right.
not going into
That's
their
why
side.
it's there. It's not aimed at their house. It's aimed at the side of my house, but it has peripheral vision that
Okay.
can see the edge of the back of their house.
I'm going to read what I've written into the order. So hopefully that just clear. And I'm going to try to keep it simple because I don't want to micromanage too much.
Right.
But what it says is, and you'll get a copy of this, and so will you, Mr. Rainey. No cameras recording petitioner's backyard or pointed at petitioner's window. No camera on petitioner's side of the boundary line fence. No pictures placed by respondent on petitioner's side of the boundary line fence.
Okay, so the one camera that's watching their fence is in an area, there is a gap. There was a grudge fence built on the other side of my fence. And so there's a gap in that area. That's where that camera is.
Okay.
It's in a gap that's behind both of our yards.
Okay.
So it's
As long as
it's not on over his property. It's on a bit of a no man's land.
Okay.
And it's pointed back at my property.
Okay. Mr. Rainey, do you know what he's talking about? Do you kind of agree with that characterization? Do you know which camera he's talking about?
I do. Yeah. That camera was moved since we put in the petition. It still looks like it points. I can't tell you for sure, but it does appear to be still visible from our yard. So I don't know what it looks at, but it does appear to be still pointing and viewing our yard, our private area.
Have more than a dozen cameras visible from their yard.
Right. Well,
But pointed at their yard is a different story. And most of my cameras are low because I'm looking for wildlife.
right. I
And so
understand.
they
I understand.
see
Well, I mean, I would say if you want to take pictures of squirrels on your fence, put the camera on the other side so it's pointing away from my house. That would be a solution.
Yeah, because what we're getting at, Mr. Musgrave, kind of what Mr. Rainey there was saying, is stepping back, the issue is from the Rainey household perspective, them feeling like there are cameras pointed at their backyard. And so to the extent what you're trying to do is capture wildlife, if you are able to point your cameras towards your house and towards your yard, that alleviates those kind of issues. Yeah.
Again, it is.
Yeah.
It's pointed. If you look at the picture from that camera, you can see, you barely see their house. You can, and that's like I moved it further back over, so it's looking more towards my house now. That's not the current picture that's in there, but
Okay.
it is so that it is aimed at my house, and the fence is in the foreground. My house is in the background. I don't know if their edge of their house is in that shot now.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm confident. It sounds like you kind of understand the parameters here.
And I do, yeah,
Okay.
I'm
All right.
real
So that's
familiar with the
that is what the order is going to prohibit. Now, the signs, again, it sounds like there may be one of the signs that was placed on the side of the fence facing into the Rainey household backyard. So that sign will need to come down. But to the
Okay.
extent that you have signs on your property up in your windows, folks have a First Amendment right to display signs. And I understand Mr. Rainey takes
when I could,
exception to those. And
it's no problem.
Yeah.
I have a divider fence, which is right where
Okay.
that,
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying those,
go ahead. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
the signs
my
in
yard.
your windows and on your property, they stay up.
Yeah.
You can take them down
And I
if you wish.
consider that fence my property, but I will move it to my
Yeah.
side of the
Okay,
fence.
yeah, to the extent things are on that fence, you're gonna have to litigate the property line issue before putting anything on that fence. Because
Yeah,
until
okay.
that has been.
Now, why wouldn't
cleared-
he have to litigate the property line issue?
Well, because it sounds like at this point, there are causes of action in Superior Court where if it's unclear who owns the fence,
Mhm.
it's called a declaratory judgment, and a judge can tell you who owns what.
Right.
So it may be worth going into that. If each of you keep operating under the assumption it's your fence, you might just wind back up in court a lot.
Right.
So it might be worth trying to either kind of mediate some kind of resolution between the
That's
two of you.
why I'm asking, and a survey is like
Right. So you,
outrageously expensive.
okay, yeah. So
I
that,
can
but that's
find the pin.
right. So what I'm saying is, until that has been resolved, and this is not, I'm ordering what is up now facing the Rainey's property needs to come down. So on their side of the fence.
Okay.
To the extent that you're able to work out some sort of solution as to the boundary line, each going in half and half on a survey, or if you want to go to Superior Court and get some sort of declaration from a judge or something like that, I would suggest doing that. Otherwise, you both might find yourself back here in these harassment calendars more than you'd like.
Yeah.
So that's my suggestion. But all I'm doing is ordering pictures on the side of the fence that faces the Rainey household to come down. To the extent that pictures are clearly on your side of the property or in your windows, those can stay up. You have that First Amendment right. I'm not touching that.
Okay.
With respect to the correspondence, at this point, I'm not finding that rises to the level of unlawful harassment, primarily because it sounds like while the Rainey household doesn't like those letters coming in, I don't think there's been clear notice for that activity to stop. I think at this point, Mr. Rainey has made it clear that Mr. Rainey's household would like those letters to stop coming. So if you're going to file a lawsuit or small claims against them, I think it's probably time
The
to
next time will be a
do it.
registered
Yeah.
letter.
And so I'm not going to put an order on that or anything.
And
but
registered letters are okay if I send them that. at the
I
court
think at this
proceeding.
point, Mr. Rainey has made it clear that correct me if I'm not wrong, Mr. Rainey, they don't want any more letters. So if you're gonna file a lawsuit against them, you should probably just file a lawsuit against them.
Okay. Don't
but-
I have to give them like notice?
So legal process is
Uh-huh.
accepted from any, and
Okay.
again, I'm not entering an order or anything like that. But if you want, legal process is never part of.
Okay, so
process.
there's one step that you're supposed to notify them of a claim before you.
Yeah. So
Serve
any
them notice.
sort of formal notice associated with a lawsuit,
Mhm.
that's fine. I think again, Mr. Rainey, correct me if I'm wrong, what the Rainey household has made clear today is that they no longer want any correspondence from you talking about a potential lawsuit. And that, in the
Right,
future,
yeah.
if that continues,
And those letters said I would terminate that on the 2nd
right.
of February. if
It sounds
get
like they just don't
response.
want any more letters.
Right.
So again, I'm not putting
Well,
that
yeah, I
in
have
order, but
no intention to
Okay.
send a,
All right.
yeah.
okay. So that addresses the letter issue. We've addressed the camera issue. We've addressed the signs issue. With respect to the allegations that Mr. Rainey's daughter, may have trespassed or anything of that, that's not really anything that's part of this hearing. And so I'm not going to make any findings one way or another. I think this all came to light, I think, as part of Mr. Rainey's general characterization of kind of harassing behavior, calling the police when he felt it was inappropriate to call the police. We also try not to weigh in too much on restricting people's ability or Monday morning quarterbacking people's decision to call police. So I'm not really finding that interaction is relevant to this petition for unlawful harassment one way or another. So I don't find that needs any kind of court action here. And then similarly, I guess the last thing is I don't find that there's any basis at this point to order Mr. Musgrave to have any to stop all communication with Mr. Rainey or his children. Again, there's nothing in the allegations here that rises to the level of unlawful harassment such that the court would need to get involved and start regulating that kind of behavior. So again, I am entering an order, but as I said earlier, the order really only touches cameras pointed to the petitioner's backyard, because I do find that they have a reasonable expectation to privacy in their backyard, or pointed at petitioner's windows. No cameras on the petitioner's side of the boundary line fence, and no pictures placed by respondent on the petitioner's side of the boundary line fence. At this point, again, issues on the location of the fence will need to be addressed either by the two of you privately, where you reach some sort of settlement, or by Superior Court. But at this point, given where the fence is, and that the area of the fence facing the Rainey household does in fact face the Rainey household, that's the basis of the order prohibiting, you putting anything on that side of the fence, essentially. Does that make any sense? Yep.
I need to do maintenance on that fence as well. Can I access that side of the fence?
You're going to need to ask their permission, the Rainey's permission. I'm not getting into who. Again, boundary line disputes need to be addressed somewhere else. If Mr.
Well,
Rainey is
yeah,
saying
but
that the fence is on his
Fence
property,
maintenance has to be addressed somehow too.
and that's not for the unlawful harassment calendar.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think if you're wanting access to the fence and it's being denied by Mr. Rainey, and the two sides can't come to some sort of agreement on a boundary line or a fence, then that needs to be resolved either by both parties, on your own, either getting a survey or something like that, or going to court over in Superior Court
Right.
to settle that dispute.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions, Mr. Rainey?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So like I said, I'm filling out the order now. We will, it's not going to be completed until later this morning. So we'll send out copies to everyone. Actually, let me just give it to him here. I'm almost done. All right. So I'm just about finished. So I'll complete it here so I can give a copy to Mr. Musgrave. Mr. Rainey will we send him a copy of it?
It's available in the.
It's available. Okay. All right. And then Mr. Rainey, it's available on the online case file where you filed all your exhibits. You can get a copy of the signed order there.
Right, thank you.
Part,
All right, thank you. Yeah, Mr. Musgrave, any questions?
yeah, part of his request was that I not be allowed within 1,000 feet of him.
Yeah, I'm
That's
not granting that.
possible, okay?
Yep.
And that the other thing was that any property issues are supposed to be resolved in Superior Court.
Yes.
Is that I was going to ask you if that's I noticed one thing, it said that it would be transferred to Superior Court. I was wondering if I'm filing a harassment suit against the Raineys, do I file that in district or Superior Court?
I would suggest you file that in Superior Court. If,
So was this misfiled?
well, no, to the extent, it's just that we at district court cannot resolve property line disputes. So when a claim of harassment is grounded fundamentally in an issue with a property line
Like
dispute.
trespassing?
Yeah, then
Okay.
that's something that we don't take up, and we don't. Sometimes we transfer it automatically. Sometimes we'll deny it and then just have someone file it in Superior Court.
Okay.
Mr. Rainey's allegations weren't necessarily grounded in a property dispute. It was more it sounds like that came about more in your response. And so,
And part of that, you've seen these things, right? Or have you seen that?
yeah,
Oh, yeah, self-help.
Yeah.
And of course, like it says, you don't file against a neighbor in district court.
right. One reason, because we can't, that often resolves, if it's not an exclusion, a categorical exclusion, it's just, that's more of a recognition that we in district court.
Well, and
can't
that's
resolve
the reason
property.
I hadn't previously filed the harassment.
Well, yeah, you're
suit, was
welcome to do
because it
that,
said
but it-
you don't do it against
Yeah,
a
it
neighbor.
would need to be in Superior Court.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I'm wondering why this wasn't filed in Superior. Or whether this should have been. Because I am a neighbor,
Right.
whether there was property or not, still a neighbor.
All right, Mr. Rainey, sir, you are free to go. I'm just going to sign the order here, and you can get a copy of it off the district court website, or I'm sorry, in the case file. And I'm just going to give a copy here to Mr. Musgrave in
And
person.
the ring doorbell that he has pointing into my house, is there any order for him to remove that, or do I have to file a separate?
No, you would have to file something separate. As this is just a request for him as a petitioner.
So if there's a camera on the neighbor behind me's property that points at the backside of my fence, is that allowable?
So I'm not going to get into a hypothetical. You're not the petitioner here. So if you'd like to file a petition against him.
Well, it's part of what your order was, that about not having a camera pointed at
Mhm.
that on his property. The camera I have over there is not on his property.
Right, but if there are cameras not on his property that pointed into his backyard, though, that's
So it's pointed into my backyard and catches the top of or part of my fence.
right. Then that should be fine. Again, the issue is filming his backyard.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
So if it's not aimed at his house, for example,
Mhm.
that's not an issue. I'm not going to be aimed
Right,
at
except
anybody's
for
windows
cameras
or
that,
anything.
again, there's two things. It's cameras pointed into his backyard,
Right.
onto the backside of his house, or cameras that are located on the fence, on his side of the fence.
Right.
Yeah, those are the two prohibitions on the. on the
Okay,
cameras.
yeah, and that one's not on his side of the fence, it's on the neighbor behind his
Yeah.
side of the fence.
And again, there's at this point, there's no communication prohibition, right? So if the two of you are able to talk out some of these issues.
Yeah, and I
you know,
tried to
you're-
ask
you're
him
able to
about
do that.
moving that ring
Yeah.
camera or
Right.
turning it off the other day. That's what I tried to
Okay.
ask him about.
So, all right.
That he wouldn't talk to me about it, so.
Here you go, Mr. Musgrave. Here's a copy of your order.
Okay.
Okay, there you are, sir.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you very much.
of course. Yep. Have a good rest of your
Thank
day.
you.
You as well. All right, Mr. Rainey, any questions, sir?
By the way, did I do okay on my presentation?
You did just fine.
Thank you very much. My wife's an attorney, former JAG officer.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can tell you did just
She
fine.
thought I did good too.
All right, good. Mr. Rainey, any questions?
Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. You're free to go.